Yo, what is up everybody? Today we will be doing What If Naruto Was Megumi's Reincarnation. Now I know what everyone's thinking here. What happened to Bleach Unbound? Like, where did he go? Like, what happened to you pretty much, right? And it's kind of hard to explain. So pretty much what happened was I just kind of stopped doing YouTube. I also went on this huge trip. So for 4 months I went overseas. So that happened too. But now we're back and we're starting off with something a bit simple. What if Naruto's Megumi? And the new Jujutsu Kaisen chapters have been going kind of well. So I was kind of hoping to get in on this while I still can. I will be doing Sukuna and Gojo later on, because they're literally fighting right now in the manga. No spoilers. I try not to spoil it, but it's pretty good so far. I've been seeing all this fraud Kuna, all over my For You page. But yeah, pretty much what we're gonna be doing is kind of having Megumi reincarnate into Naruto. Many ways I could think about it. Have it from the Jujutsu Kaisen verse. I could see maybe things with Gojo and Sukuna don't go well, and Megumi ends up dying, something like that, right? But pretty much that's just what's gonna happen. Now, without further ado, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So we start this story off in the birth of Naruto. Now, the features of Naruto would be more similar to that of Megumi, as we know, he has more black hair and more, softer facial features compared to the usual Naruto, who has blonde hair and whiskers. He would be more toned to Megumi. Now, the whole Nine Tails attack would pretty much go as usual. There's not much that would change because Naruto's Megumi's reincarnation here. And I think really the changes will start happening when Naruto is growing up. Now when Naruto is 4, as we know, Danzo would kind of spread word that Naruto has the Nine Tails. In this case, we would still have him have the Nine Tails. And a Rogue usually either has many different ways of Naruto not having the Nine Tails, but in this case we will actually be having him. And it's basically based on the Nine Tails enhances Megumi, or Naruto in this case is Shikigami, similar to how Sukuna enhanced it. Like we saw Nui was the bird. He was smaller when Megumi was using it, and then when Sukuna used it, it was as tall as a building. And it was sending down lightning strikes from the sky, so that was pretty cool. So yeah. Now as Naruto was growing up, I'd say 4 or 5 years old, he would kind of be a bit isolated. There was not many people that like him, so I could see him kind of in a way wanting to befriend his Shikigamis, because he's very lonely. He doesn't have much friends at the point, and when he joins the academy, he might have a few friends like Shikamaru, maybe Sasuke, but at the moment he has no parents really. Hiruzen kind of takes care of him, but at the moment really he's kind of on his own, right? So as you know, with the Shikigami, you get the first divine dogs. You get that just from the start. You don't have to fight the dogs to actually get the dogs. So he's got the divine dogs, and they're helpful when it comes to things like scent. They can smell things, and say if you were to hunt, you can use the dogs to hunt for food, things like that. Or just say if you were to be on a mission later on, and he's looking for somebody, he's hunting somebody, a bounty hunter or something like that. This could be useful for that. But as he's growing up, actually, so Kurama could see his ability. As you know, he's technically in his soul. He can read his abilities. He knows his Shikigami abilities. And what I'm going to have here is I'm going to have sort of Kurama in the early stages before he kind of becomes good. Kind of his evil stages is kind of like Sukuna, in a way that he helps Naruto the best he can, so he could actually get Naruto ready to be, in a sense, his host. Not his host, so he can take over his body, sort of, and possess his body, right? And actually that will be something we'll talk about later, and we could possibly have Kurama actually has a Shikigami and some other original Shikigamis I'll be introducing. So, as Naruto's growing up, he would use his divine dogs to actually get the other animals like the bird Nui, Nu, I think that's how you pronounce it, Nu, and or like the rabbit Escape and those other Shikigamis that Megumi possesses. And when he's about 6-7 years old, is actually implementing an element to the story, and that is that before Minato died, whenever Kakashi was actually protecting Kushina while she was pregnant, he, in the end, or sort of in those stages, that time, he entrusted Naruto to Kakashi. And Kakashi is now more mature. I believe when the Nine Tails attack, he was like 15. Now he's 21. So now he using things that Kakashi could actually take care of Naruto, raise him, train him, things like this. And this is actually what's going to happen. So about 6-7 years old, Kakashi would take in Naruto and actually start to train him up and get him some early training. And in a way, this will actually help train his Shikigami, his hand-to-hand combat. But really, can he use chakra? That's the real question. I would say yes, but not in very advanced techniques like he was doing in canon, like in later to the show, like Rasengan, Rasen Shirk, and those kind of things, or just any other complex jutsus in the verse. I can see him doing maybe just a few shadow clones, but that's about it. Only enough to get him past the academy. He was mostly focused on using his Shikigami, which he was convinced, right, or to really theorize that this is kind of maybe a clan technique, but really it's just innate technique. So pretty much as he's growing up in the academy, he would join the academy at about 7 years old, and during the academy he would befriend Shoji, Shikamaru, Shino, and Sasuke. They would kind of form their own friend group, and they would start training and things like this. And pretty much as Naruto's growing up, he would start practicing and enhancing his Shikigami, and with the help of Kurama, whenever he's fighting other Shikigamis to sort of tame them and gain a pack with them, Kurama would actually enhance his chakra, so he would actually have an edge, and also, in a sense, enhance his battle IQ. And if that's even, that's kind of hard to explain. But overall, he would enhance him so he could actually win. And there he would get most of the common Shikigami, which is used for battle. Now, during the academy years, Naruto would be studying mostly on ninja history, jutsu, his Shikigami, enhancing it. Literally when he was a kid, he can't make the normal size Shikigami like Megumi does when Jujutsu Kaisen starts, so they're kind of more like miniature, and the more older he gets, as he gets kind of older and bigger and mature, so do the Shikigami. So by the start of the anime, I'd say when he's 13-14 years old, that's when the Shikigami would be about good size to actually use during battle. And of course I could see him learning pretty good hand-to-hand combat like that Itadori hands, and actually say getting a hang of Black Flash. But that's mostly just something that will happen later on. Now, during the academy years, Naruto's main source of money were doing D-rank missions. Now, as we know, D-rank missions are mostly chore missions, just helping around the village. It's not like there's any kind of danger to it, right? So during his second year, like his sophomore year in the academy, I guess sophomore just because, during his second year in the academy, he would start doing D-rank missions, and this was the first time he would use his shadow clone jutsu, so he can do more D-ranks more at a time, so he can get his bread up. I'm just kidding. Get his money up, not his funny up. No, I'm just so pretty much he would actually start making money pretty decent. I'd say we're talking dollars here. I can say a few hundred a month, nothing too bad, just 200, 300, nothing clothes, things, or some cologne, something like that, So he would save up his money, and this is where he would get, by the start of the anime, he'd be saving up his money, and this is where he would get kind of his Jujutsu Kaisen drip, and just sort of battle utilities. Yep. So now we'll head over to the start of the anime. Now, I'd say the Mizuki kind of situation would be a bit different here, and the fact that Naruto would not fail, nor would be sort of manipulated. And when Naruto would pass, it would be pretty close, because for Naruto to be like prodigy of the year, and since Naruto's not the reincarnation of like some really OP character like some Bleach reincarnations I've done, it's not like you'll easily be prodigy of the year. He'll actually have to put some effort in their like kind of spar, and also in some of the doing like shadow clones and like throwing shuriken, throwing kunai, things like this. You would actually have to show, like, it would be a pretty high diff battle between him and Sasuke. They would have a pretty good rivalry going, and I would say in this timeline that Sasuke wouldn't be as jealous of Naruto, because you know, the way Sasuke was in canon, I didn't really like that. I don't think anyone really likes him how he was in canon, so it's just always better to make him likable, make him like a rival of Naruto, kind of starter, you know, earlier on in the series, so whenever I implement these elements later on in the story, it's more smoother. So Naruto would be prodigy of the year by barely, but still prodigy of the year. As in, you know, Sasuke would be second, and third I could see probably Shikamaru, Shino. So yeah, just Naruto growing up with them, he would give that type of value to their strengths and their abilities, and so would they, because you know Shikamaru's pretty smart, he's pretty put together, he's stoic, and I think those kind of elements would kind of spread on Naruto. As we know, Megumi's pretty calm in most situations, and then obviously when he does his domain, he gets a little wild because he is Toji's son. So we, you know, that's something he really gets from Toji, and I think we can implement that here. Now, before, we don't want to stick too long on tangents here, because, you know, when me and Rogue, we really be talking about tangents, but I kind of like to flesh out the backstory, you know, because a strong foundation is always good in a story. Now, Naruto would be leaving the academy when he would overhear Mizuki talking to a student, like in the back, kind of in the backyard of the school, kind of further away from eye view, as he kind of how do I say, like kind of conceal himself, right? Like English here. He would conceal himself as kind of restrict his chakra as much as he can. And, you know, he was raised for like, what is it, he's 13, 14, he was raised by Kakashi, so he was 6. I was 7, 8 years old, right? He was raised to be stealthy, right, from an ex-Anbu captain, so it would not be too much of a stretch to say he can actually restrict his curse energy so to be not sensed, obviously by this is Chunin, so it's not too bad. Now, as he's listening in, he hears that Mizuki wants this kind of kid to steal the scroll of sealing. And I think this kid's not too bad, man. Had he focused more on school, I mean, he's a kid, you know, the kids will be kids, but had he more focused on school, he was pretty decent, would have been okay shinobi, not top tier, but not certainly worst of the worst, but still failed. So Naruto would kind of tail him, as he would spend a few hours watching his movements, seeing where he's going, as he would see him headed towards the Hokage's mansion to steal the scroll of sealing. Once he sees the scroll, the kid actually manages to steal the scroll, mainly probably because Hiruzen lets him, as he notices Hiruzen. And as he notices Hiruzen, right, they kind of both have some eye contact look, and they, as you can say, you know how like when men kind of look to each other and they have like that eye contact and they kind of transmit some message, right? It's something like this. Hiruzen knows Naruto, it has been tailing him, right, because of his magic orb, and he knows that this kid's trying to steal scroll sealing, and Naruto wants to deal with it, so he let him deal with it because he knows Naruto for a couple of years now. He knows from his birth. He's been trained by Kakashi pretty well, and he'll let him handle it, right? So Naruto would then follow the kid a little bit further away from the house. He doesn't want to take him out right at the house. That would cause too much suspicions, too much noise. So he would kind of sneak up behind the kid, discombobulate him, or like knock him out, something like that, right? I don't know. And there's like, I wouldn't say choke him out, but I would say just knock him out pretty easily. Maybe using his rabbits to like kind of force him, like trap him and then pretty much knock him out. It's nothing really too much detail. So after he gets a scroll of sealing, he'll head over to kind of re-follow the kid's footsteps, and obviously he heard where to meet Mizuki after he gets the scroll of sealing. So he would go to that kind of shack in the woods, as he would kind of sit on the tree overhead, kind of watching over and seeing who would come over through the trail. Now he would start reading through the scroll as he would start seeing some like jutsu, like water style jutsu, and as you know, his elephant, actually Shikigami, like spits out a bunch of water. And I was thinking, obviously, if we have him use his water, to actually strengthen his technique using jutsu from Naruto, and then his curse techniques, actually kind of merging them together, make them stronger. That would also be a pretty good idea. So he'd be reading through, seeing, multi-shadow clone jutsu. Now, of course, he knows how to do the shadow clone jutsu, but really, Kakashi didn't really teach him how to summon like 50 clones, because it's not really practical when it comes to expending chakra and strategically thinking to himself that why would he need to summon like 50 clones. So he would see the multi-shadow clone jutsu, some other simple jutsus, simple of like literally all the S rank, A rank jutsus. So when I say simple, don't actually think I'm saying like simple like academy. It's like pretty useful. So he would close it up as he would see Mizuki approaching, and as Mizuki approaches, he would drop down, knowing that Mizuki's a traitor, right? He would start using some of his hands, catch him off guard, right? He would kind of drop down, kind of spear tackle him, and he would start just railing on him, going like punch, like left, right, right? He would just start mauling on him, right? And then he would start to realize his body would start to kind of liquidate, right? As he realizes Mizuki had used a water clone, and the body would just start completely like condensating into water. Condensating, is that even the right word? Like sort of not condensating, what's the other term? I forgot. But his body would just start like melting into water, right? So once he would see this, he would turn around and he would see Mizuki coming out, right? Now, what Mizuki noticed is obviously, his Naruto had actually was following him, right? Also, not really noticing it because he's kind of weak. He's a Chunin, but he just had this kind of feeling in the back of his mind that something was not right, but he couldn't put his finger on it, right? So he knows that Naruto knows, right? So there's no playing the game, playing the act here. So, Mizuki would say, like, you did good against my 30% clone, right? As he would start using all of his powers. Now, when it comes to Mizuki here, I'll be usually, in most what ifs, you'll see, like, me, Rogue, kind of just one-shot Mizuki off, no problem, right? Or just give him a beat down, But I'll kind of amp Mizuki here. I'll do rarely, so we can have some sort of actually good fight for Naruto to test out his Shikigami, because there's a difference between training theoretically and training to survive. Right? There's just that different mentality there. So we'll have Mizuki know decent bit of water jutsus, like water vortex. Obviously he needs to do a bunch of hand signs. He's not like, he can't just do like Tobirama and just do one hand sign, you're done. No, he has to do like 15, 20, but he can do those types of jutsu. And he can use a bit of the curse mark. Now, as we know, I believe Mizuki's body just didn't work out when it came to the curse mark, but because we'll kind of allow like maybe 5% of it, right? So he's like way weaker than the Sound 4. He's like significantly weaker, but he would still have just say like a little bit of the curse mark's power, right? So he would just have those markings, nothing significant. So Naruto would realize kind of what position he's in, right? As he would start summoning his Shikigami, as he would start first summoning his dogs to clamp down on his legs, as the first one would clamp down on his legs, as his kind of Mizuki's body seems to be reinforced, kind of a bit harder, but not too hard for his dogs, because they managed to still manage to penetrate. That sounds sus. Pause. Don't take that out of context. But they would still manage to cut through his leg, right, and bite into it. So they would still hold him down, as Naruto would hopefully manage to do this, because really Black Flash is just luck. So he'd try to go into the curse energy, kind of get a feel of it, not like how Gojo does, because that would be OP, but sort of in his own way, right? Kind of beginner, like how to feel curse energy for dummies, right? So he would start to feel it as he would run up and just start mauling on him, right? And not every punch would be infused with Black Flash, but a few. Like he would learn like throw 3 punches, and then one would be Black Flash, and then he would kick like Mizuki in the ribs, and still like he could see some of the bruises on his face would start to heal, like Mizuki's face, but where he would use Black Flash, they would kind of cause fractures in his bones, which even though he has the curse mark, it is so little that it cannot heal that. So Naruto would be on the upper hand. He would also start to use the rabbits to completely kind of cause a distraction. Like once Mizuki escapes the dog's hold on him, he would start trying to use some water jutsus, like water bullet, things like that, throwing his Demon Wind Shuriken, which is pretty fast, but Naruto could still like react to it pretty well. And Naruto would also use his toads to sort of, whenever Mizuki is going to attack, it would kind of react by pulling him out, like, and that sounds sus, pause, but it would just, as we see, like, toads are very kind of reactive. They literally reacted to Toji's attack whenever he was at fighting Megumi, so it's a pretty useful skill. So as Megumi and some Naruto and Mizuki are fighting it out, Mizuki is getting much tired, and Naruto is still kind of holding on, because some of his deer kind of gives a bit of positive, his reverse curse technique, but really this mostly works toward canceling the other person's technique rather than actually reinforcing your own, but it would have a slight effect on him. Also the Nine Tails, as we know, Kurama wants to have Naruto as fit as possible, but he would just be given, like, I'd say, like, what was it, like the first tail Naruto, but with like actually without the tail, like the Nine Tails Naruto at the Land of Waves, right, against Haku on the bridge, something about that amount. So he's fighting on his own. He's doing pretty good, and Naruto is just beating on Mizuki, right? So as he would knock Mizuki out after just the mauling he gave him. He would then take him over to Hiruzen, or really the interrogation core, as he would return the Scroll of Sealing, and Hiruzen would kind of applaud him for sort of technically completing his first like B rank mission. So this kind of like someone stealing the Scroll of Sealing, taking it to Orochimaru, like that's pretty high rank to say B, almost into the A rank, right? But because Mizuki was only like Chunin level, it was kind of on the lower end side of that. Now after he would kind of head home, eat some ramen, right? He would head home, and let's give some description on like where he lives now. Since Kakashi, he's Jonin, right? He makes the dough, and now that Naruto, he has to kind of take care of Naruto and all that. He would kind of move out of that home he has, a small one, to a pretty nice house, I'd say. And Naruto would have his own room and stuff like that, and decorations, and have his own clone. I'm just kidding. He had his own drip and things like that. He'd have pretty good taste. And obviously, when it comes to like his weapons, if he used any, I don't really see him use anything other than his like Shigami or like Black Flash. So not really much there. And yeah, so we'll head into the team selections. Now Naruto actually doesn't know that Kakashi will actually be his proctor for Team 7, not proctor, but like sensei, Team Sensei. It's more of like a surprise. So the next day when he heads in, he realizes that obviously, Iruka comes in and all the other people come in, and he starts reading out the list for the teams, as the other teams would be called out, and their sensei was come pretty quick, like a minute or two, like they were already there before, or they just got there, so they didn't have to wait that long. But when it came to Iruka listing out their names, he would kind of say it like with a sympathetic tone, because he knows that Kakashi is usually late. So he would kind of apologize and tell me, probably just chill out, go eat lunch or something like that, or eat breakfast or read a book or something like that, because he's going to be taking like an hour maybe. And Naruto, realizing his sensei was actually Kakashi, would sort of understand that he takes a while. So, he would start talking with Sasuke, and we'll kind of go describe what Naruto and Sasuke's relationship are at this point. Now, when they first met, when they were like 6 years old at the academy, they were pretty solid. But after the massacre, obviously, Sasuke's mental state was a bit worse, but not like to an extent, because he had all these friends. He had Shikamaru, Shino, Choji, and obviously Naruto. So his mental state is a little better, but he still wants to like kill Itachi. And really, only Naruto knows this. Other people, they kind of have an idea. Like Shikamaru, he's pretty smart, but other than that, they kind of just chill. They're like a pretty good friend group, And Sasuke's prowess at this time, I think, because all the sparring he does and some of the early training he actually got with Kakashi, like between the summers of their academy years, like say like the first year they have like a 3-month summer, like just normal school, right? After each school year they have like 3 months of summer. They would actually spend this summer diligently training with Kakashi or Shikaku, or some of the other clan heads like Choji's dad or Shino's dad, and to actually get some different perspectives of ninja world and things like that. They would spend their summers pretty much training together, getting stronger. So I'd say Sasuke at this point, I'd say he's probably a 2-1 like 2 to 1 one eye, 1 to 1 the other, pretty close to 2 to 1, right? He's like, recently he's almost there. He can feel it pretty much, and with the assistance of Kakashi, and now that he's getting older, about 13, 14, he's older than Naruto. So Naruto's like 13 and a half, let's say almost 14, and Sasuke's 14. I think like Sasuke's older than him by like 7 months. So like he's about 14, and Sasuke's being told by Kakashi that he could start training more harder and more intensity and things like that. I don't need to say pause, because come on now. So pretty much his training is going pretty okay. I don't want to go too much now, because tangents and all, but Kakashi would then arrive, and pretty much he would tell everyone to head up on the roof, so they can do introductions and things like that. Just Naruto's not much of a jokester as much as in canon. He's more kind of, he can joke around with friends, but he's not like always like laughing or always smiling or things like that. He knows when to be serious, he knows when to laugh, right? He's kind of got the stoicism, but he's not like deadly cold, like he just killed this dude's parents in front of him. But technically that's kind of true. But they would head up to the roof as Kakashi would start going through his introduction, talking about himself, and he would ask them to introduce himself. And really, I guess you say Kakashi's not as cold as he is in canon. I mean, he's taking care of Naruto and things like that. He kind of has like that, I guess, that person in his life, that light in his life, I guess you can say, something like that. And he's a little more, I guess, not serious, still serious, but like not serious, So they would start introducing themselves. Sakura, she would kind of say what she says in canon, because she's just muttering. She doesn't really like hate Naruto though, because he's just kind of chill, does his own thing. She doesn't really pay him any mind really, and neither does Naruto. And then when it comes to Naruto's introduction, he would say that he likes doing training, likes kind of working out, going out, like kind of hanging out, chilling. Does like going to eating ramen, pretty much kind of usual normal introduction. And his goal in this time is he kind of wants to be I wouldn't say the strongest in the world, but sort of still wants to be Hokage, right? But it's not as a burning desire as he was in canon, because Naruto now kind of still gets that validation from his friends, from his from like Hiruzen, from Kakashi. The desire isn't as burning as when he barely had any friends in canon. Nobody really liked him, so he still wants to be Hokage, just not that extremely, right? He just kind of wants to rise through the ninja world, have a good impact on the world, be a good man, have some morals, things like that, right? So, this would be like kind of, I guess Sasuke and Kakashi, they think that's pretty good. It's not much to comment about. It's just what every man, it's kind of common sense to them in a way. So Sasuke would have the same introduction, but it would not be as morbid as usual, I just want to kill a certain somebody. It would kind of actually introduce himself and things like that normally. And he would say his goal is to, I guess, to say, he would reword like killing a certain somebody to something, I guess, and say just getting stronger, right? He doesn't actually tell everybody that he wants to kill a certain somebody. He keeps that more to himself. And whenever he's even saying like he wants to get stronger, in his head he kind of continues that statement to like kill Itachi, So after the introductions happen, Kakashi would tell him, to not eat anything, and to show up tomorrow in the morning and things like that. And Naruto literally Kakashi, he kind of knows not to eat anything really, in a sense, and he sort of has an idea where this kind of test comes from, because he actually pretty much did this test before, and he heard from Hiruzen that he actually did a test for, obviously, team like Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. It's kind of like a sacred test for many like starting out teams, so they can do teamwork and things like that. So he has an idea what the concepts are, but he doesn't know too much, right? So he still has that little mystery about what's going to happen and things like that. So he would spend his day kind of just training really with Sasuke, with Shikamaru, with all their friend groups, or their friend group. And so we can time skip to the next day. Now the next day would come around, and pretty much what would happen is that, he would get up, get ready. It's about like he would get up at like 8:30, 9 a.m. ish. Would head out, and as he's walking towards there, he would get there, as he would see Sasuke and Sakura already there, but they seem a little bit more tired, as they thought that Naruto was late, but like Naruto, and the rest of them, they would start waiting for like 30 minutes, and they'd realize he's still not here. So Naruto, being kind of bored, he would close his book he was reading, right, and he would get up and he would ask Sasuke if he wants to spar, kind of taijutsu spar, nothing real serious, because they did spar before, and they did spar to see who would be like the child prodigy of the school year, and Naruto did win with high diff, really. I'd say like extreme, I wouldn't say extreme difficulty, but it was pretty okay difficulty, I'd say. So they started sparring hand in hand, and Sakura would kind of just be watching and all that, kind of taking notes on some of the techniques, and Sasuke would be using the wildfire dance. Naruto's more using that Itadori Megumi style, like of hand-to-hand combat, kind of like that, I guess you can say like MMA style John Jones. I was just kidding. But I'd say like, yeah, it was pretty something like that, like Itadori style, just punching and kicking, things like that. That's what I really, for some reason, I kind of actually really like Itadori's fighting style, and the way he uses it with Black Flash. I actually kind of like that a lot. So pretty much what happened from here is Kakashi would get there about like 25-30 minutes after they would start sparring, and they would kind of be a bit tired, but not to a huge extent, right? And Sakura, knowing some, let's say it would give her some medical ninjutsu to like restore chakra levels to a certain point, heal any bruising. She would heal them up real quick, not like majorly, but she's still like kind of learning. Let's say like Sakura took like an apprenticeship at the hospital or something with like a pretty known doctor. She starts to learn some medical ninjutsu, and this will actually provide a good foundation for once Tsunade comes in, then we can start developing her character from there. but at the moment she just knows some medical ninjutsu. Now Kakashi would get there and they would start pretty much the bell test, and he would start explaining it, saying that they could only get 2 bells out of the 3. The other person would actually go back to the academy. Now Naruto would have a kind of rough understanding of this test, but not too much. He doesn't know that it's teamwork, but he knows that there's no way in this kind of system of a 4-man group of 3 Gennings and 1 Jonin. There's no possible way that you can only have 2 Gennings in this format. Of course, there's some other formats like duo Anbu members, the 3-member Jonin, things like this, but in this specific format for the academy and things like that, this is set. This really cannot be changed that well. It would need to be some heavy exception for it to change, and I don't think this is one of them. So he would start talking to Sasuke, right? As Kakashi would say they would start spreading out, this is big force, right? So they would kind of spread out and then get together, as obviously Sakura was really just following Sasuke, and Naruto was just telling Sasuke to come over, so it's just natural. So they'll kind of meet up together, and pretty much Naruto would say that it's not possible for one of them to actually be sent back to the academy. And he was saying that he was proposing that with his Shikigami, with Sasuke's taijutsu, with Sakura's healing, I guess you can say, and her vast, I guess pretty good chakra control, they can actually team up together and fight against Kakashi. And Sasuke's thinking about this, sounds like a good idea. I mean, he's seen Naruto's Shikigami, like the lightning bird knew, the elephant, things like that. He knows how to work with Naruto. And with some of his simple lightning jutsus he has, from, like I said, training with Kakashi and some fire jutsus, he can do a lot of collaborative jutsus with Naruto. He can pretty much do hand-to-hand combat with him, kind of how Todo and Yuji did against Mahito, or Mahito and Nanami. Thing is, when it comes to Naruto in this timeline, he's more compatible with other people when it comes to fighting, and that's just how Shikigami works. So they would kind of formulate their plan as they would ambush Kakashi from far, right? They would conceal the chakra point to point. Obviously, Kakashi can still sense it because he's a Jonin, he's an elite Jonin, right? So he can still sense them, but he kind of sees what they're doing, right? Obviously, he can blatantly sense Sakura, but he can somewhat sense Sasuke. But Naruto seems to have the best chakra control when it comes to this, so he can only sense him a little bit. Now, we're just gonna get through this. They would start jumping in, right? Naruto would use his, he would kind of be holding on to the bottom of his bird as he would drop kick. He would drop down, kind of pin dropping Kakashi, and Sasuke would come in as Naruto would be kind of holding it back, how you hold someone from the back with their arms, and then the other person kind of starts landing shots on him. That's basically what Kakashi would do, and obviously he can still land shots, but he can't reach for the bells, because whenever Sasuke goes to reach for the bells, Kakashi would kind of lean back and kick him straight in his chest, and it would hurt whenever he would try to reach for his bells. Kakashi would kind of lean back and kick him right in his diaphragm, and he would kind of lose his air. But Kakashi, he can still land a few hits, right? So he would be doing this as Kakashi would kind of get loose of the hold, because Naruto has a pretty decent hold, and as he does this, the bird would start coming right dive bombing him with its lightning ability, as he would start feeling little lightning as it's electrocuting him, right? Whenever anime characters get electrocuted, they actually animate it. It's not just kind of not visible. Something like that would happen, and pretty much he would start feeling electricity. But as we know, he actually uses the lightning jutsus, Chidori, that lightning dog, the hound summoning. So he would actually redirect the lightning back to I guess in the sky. He would just redirect it, right? As he would start pretty much taking the dirt off his shirt. You know how it is, I forgot what it's called specifically, but he would start doing so, and he would say, not bad, commenting it was a pretty good technique. As what would happen is Sakura would come in from the distance. She's not gonna do much. We have to include her, okay? We gotta do it. So she would come in, use Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, Kunai Shadow Clone Jutsu, and there'd be like 50, 75 that would start coming towards him. This would kind of lock Kakashi towards another direction as he turn around to dodge it. And this one, Sasuke would use his fire style fireball jutsu, and he would send that towards Kakashi. Kakashi would then turn around as Megumi or Naruto would be there actually with his bird again with his lightning jutsu, right? As it would kind of merge with the fire, and it would kind of it would still kind of go towards Kakashi because the fireball is still coming for him, and he's moving out the way, and Naruto's in front of him pretty much, and the bird is coming towards him, right? But the lightning is still kind of merging with the fire in a way, because it's like residual. It's not like direct in a way. It's kind of hard to explain. So he kind of has to pick his poison, right? And then as it's going to land towards him, or it seems like he has to pick his poison and get hit by either of the three, he would then pretty much turn into a log, as Naruto would feel something tugging at the bottom, as he would be pulled into the earth style jutsu of Kakashi's, as he would get up, as Sasuke and Sakura would start fighting Kakashi, with Sasuke using his wildfire dance, and he would throw Sakura towards him. She would kind of use her imperfected chakra fist and try to go for a hit, and it would actually cause some rubble, some decent damage, but not too much, as Sasuke would be the one doing the main damage here, and she's assisting, right? So as they're kind of fighting, Naruto would get out the thing, as he would start summoning his rabbit escape to kind of clog Naruto up, and using his dogs to bite down on Kakashi's arms while the rabbits kind of clump around his legs, stopping his movement. Naruto would then go over there to reach for the bells, as Kakashi was still having some movement. He's pretty strong when it comes to handling the dog bites. He would go and he would land pretty much a haymaker on Naruto, as he would be sent forward, kind of sliding back, as he's still kind of resisting, right? So Naruto has an idea. He would summon his elephant, as it would start spouting out water, and he would tell Sasuke to use a lightning jutsu to as kind of enhance the effect, as it would completely electrify Kakashi, as they would go in to reaching the bells before he can recover and redirect the lightning, like he did before. So they would get the bells, and that would be about that. So after that would be about it, as that would wrap up the kind of the bell test, as Kakashi sees that they're actually pretty good team. They're a pretty good team. They work together, and they have a lot of potential when it comes to that aspect. So they would spend about the next 2 weeks, right, doing training with some D-rank missions, and Naruto's quite accustomed to this, right? When it comes to catching cats and doing things like that, he's very fast. Someone's shadow clones, things like that. He knows what to do, right? It's kind of like a routine for him. As they would get these done, and they would kind of feel the need to do C-rank missions, but because their teamwork is good, Naruto is learning more of his Shikigami, enlarging their size, right? He would start actually learning a new Shikigami technique, which I'll actually reveal in the Haku fight, and also another technique which is like the domain expansion, but not the domain expansion, which I'll also be using, right? And of course, some enhance techniques to be enhanced when Kurama influences him, whenever he's angry and things like that. Sakura would be learning more earth style, water style jutsu, and some fire style, because as you know in the novel, I believe she uses fire style. So she would start learning some techniques, watching Sasuke use his fire style, as she would try to replicate it with her chakra control. She has pretty good chakra control, so this would actually pretty go well with her. And Sasuke would try to learn the basics of the Chidori, but just the first stage, not much, and some other ways to manipulate fire, right? As he's learning to deviate fire, to manipulate it, to make it better, and things like that, and learn bigger fire styles. You will learn the fire dragon jutsu, and this will start to actually inspire Naruto to create his own Shikigami. In a sense, this will be one of the few Shikigami to actually be implementing like that's original. So about 2 days go by as Kakashi sees that they're actually pretty strong enough, and he himself recommends it. Not even Naruto and Sasuke having to go to Hiruzen and ask him for a C-rank mission. He actually goes there and asks for a C-rank mission himself, and kind of tells them that they'll be doing that. So they go ahead and meet Tazuna, and Tazuna would see this team, and it would be pretty decent. I mean, Naruto's pretty tall, he's got some muscle. Sasuke is about the same, and Sakura, so not much to comment. So he would see him as a pretty decent team. He thinks they can handle it somewhat, right? But he's not too sure about their abilities. He knows Kakashi is pretty strong though, so that kind of seals the deal. They would start packing and they would head out. Now I'm going to kind of speed through this part until we get to the Zabuza fight. So the demon brothers won't be too hard to deal with. It would come out, Naruto would start using hand-to-hand combat with his black flash, as Sasuke would kind of cooperate with him, letting some hits, using some combination moves with the hand-to-hand combat, and they would manage to like evade the poison arrow, not poison arrow, the poison chain, and they would subdue the demon brothers. Obviously Naruto could sense them, right? The thing is, when you kind of build a technique to sealing your own chakra, you can kind of build a sense to like seeing other people's chakra, like how that works and things like that. So with Sasuke to an extent, and with his Sharingan, he can sense much better, as at this point he's like to the brink of the Tsutomu Sharingan on both eyes. He just needs more experience and more life and death situations, which will actually be coming up right ahead. So as they kind of get in the boat, and the guy would tell them like, this is the last time, you gotta get this done, you have to get rid of Gato, build that bridge, but if you don't, I can't do it anymore. So they, Naruto would make Naruto and Team 7 would make the promise that they're going to do so, and also Kakashi would confront Tazuna about the mission details, as they would realize, as he would realize his demon brothers is at least A rank, maybe B rank at the most. So Tazuna would confess, as they realize they'll still do the mission at the end, but Kakashi didn't like that. The foundation of the mission was actually built on mistrust, like a lot, pretty much. So they would continue down as mist would start to roll in. Now, normal mist is fine, really, in this region, but the thing is, it was a little too unnatural, like it was caused by chakra. And Sasuke and Naruto, they could start to sense that chakra, and so does Kakashi. So now they kind of see this mist rolling down, and they see a rabbit. And the thing is, Naruto, he has rabbits and things like that in Shikigami. He kind of has a sense of what should they look like, and he sees a white rabbit. That doesn't make sense to him. That's not his Shikigami. But he also knows that rabbit colors are now out during the summer, right? There's more like a brownish color, something like that. So he throws his kunai at it, like he uses that, right? He throws the kunai as it would hit the rabbit, as he would pick up the rabbit and put it in his satchel. So as he would put it there, Sakura would see it, but she was gonna say something. Then she looks at the fur, and then she just realizes not to say anything, because she kind of realizes. But then she starts thinking about it, and so does Kakashi, as Kakashi would realize what would happen, as he tells everyone to duck. Now a blade would start flying through the mist, as they would all duck, and it would land, kind of lodge itself into the tree. A man with a mask would kind of land on top of the blade, and this would be none other than Zabuza Momoichi. As what would happen here is, they would have their dialogue, Kakashi recognizing Zabuza and Zabuza recognizing Kakashi, and they would start talking about their feats. Kakashi with the Sharingan, Zabuza the mist of the demon mist, and they would start their fight. Now Kakashi in this timeline would be a little bit less rusty when it comes to using his Sharingan, as he used it to train Naruto and train Sasuke, but not to a high extent, as he didn't use the Sharingan to like go on death missions or things like that, not that much. So he would still be able to hold himself off, but he would still be caught lacking by the water. Oh my god, what did I forget? The water, like he would be caught in the water puddle and be put into the water prison jutsu. So Naruto and Sasuke would realize they had to interfere and step in so they can actually save Kakashi and protect Tazen. So they would tell Sakura to protect Tazen. She would put up like a stone wall around them and kind of creating like a fortified fortress as they would head on to fight Zabuza. Now Megumi and Naruto would still do the same tactic of using like that demon wind shuriken, and with Naruto using some Chikami to combine like he would try to use the birds as like some lightning, but then he wouldn't, because he'd realize Zabuza's arm is connected to the water, and if he electrocuted anything like that, it would really damage Kakashi in the long run, which is kind of dumb. So he would then realize he would use his elephant, but then he would actually realize the water just from the elephant would not be enough. So what he would do is he would summon the elephant, and while the elephant's preparing to shoot the water out, he would actually use water style water vortex jutsu. Obviously it would take a minute, and with Kurama's chakra assisting him slightly, he would do it in about, I'd say 5-10 seconds of doing hand seals. He would make the water vortex jutsu with the assistance of the elephant, as they would shoot out a bunch of water, as obviously Zabuza has one arm in, right, using chakra to maintain the water prison jutsu, and he has one hand to be doing seals. It's not like he can summon the water dragon or something big, right? So he summons something small like a water style water wall, right? But this splashes right through, it sends him flying back, as we saw during the Sukuna fighting Yorozu. I believe this like water just sent her. I don't know. It wasn't Yorozu. It was who was it? It was Uru, I think it was. Yeah, it was Sukuna versus Uru, and he used like that, like amplified water technique from the elephant, and it sent him flying, I think, if I'm not wrong. So this would do something of similar element, just not as much, not as drastic, because Naruto didn't master as much of the Kyuubi's chakra yet. Like, he does not under the influence. So Kakashi would get free, and then they would have their battle of the water vortex jutsu. In this case, Naruto would actually help, insisting by using also a water vortex jutsu, actually sort of at the same pace, because of Kurama's chakra assisting. He doesn't need to do as much seals, and the fact that he's still Uzumaki. So they would help out, and this would actually significantly increase the damage done to Zabuza, as he's still hit into that tree, but he has like a fractured rib, right? This is when they would approach Zabuza, encroaching upon him to kill him, right? And then we would see the two Senbone piercing his neck. Now as they pierce his neck, they would be shocked, as they would see the Mist Ninja come out. Now Kakashi would realize this is a Mist tracking ninja, so he would be a bit neutral and realize the tracking ninjas are just there to probably dissect his body or something, as the Mist Ninja would kind of identify himself and take the body. Kakashi, being tired, wouldn't really try to stop it, because their goal in the end is just to build a bridge. Plus he did actually drain most of his chakra from their fight, so he would pass out. Now they would wake up and head over, they would just head over to Tazen's house, as they'd meet Tsunade and Inari, as they would head over to the store and try to buy some food. And they would realize this is let's say the day after, this was towards the evening, so they woke up the next morning and they need to get some food for dinner, and they would realize that the store didn't have much of what they needed, so they actually needed to hunt some food. And think Naruto actually had some experience hunting, as he has his dogs, which can actually sniff out prey, as they would actually try to hunt bigger animals like boar and bears and things like that, right? So they would hunt a few animals and cook it up and give the rest obviously to the more homeless people, right? Or more people in poverty, try to actually have some good impact on the world, giving some money, things like that. It's it. Like whenever they went to the store, they overpaid for things purposely, because they're looted from, think of Hidden Leaf as America when it comes to the economy, and think of this country, think of the land of the waves as like some third world country struggling financially, right? They have money from the Hidden Leaf, so like it would help support like families for like a decent few days, decent weeks. What money would get them over in the Hidden Leaf would be so much more worth in the other this place, sort of like how money is like overvalued in, like, for example, like the Philippines or something, or Indonesia, right? It's kind of the similar state here. So they donate their money, no problem, right? Because they make a lot from he's got a lot saved up, Naruto, from doing D-rank missions. Now, not to go into too much of a tangent, they would cook up their meal, Kakashi would wake up, and this is when they would actually start their week training, and yeah, we'll be doing that. So basically, Kakashi would start training them. Obviously Sasuke and Naruto, they already know how to tree walk, and Sakura would get down pretty fast. So they would actually start to raise the intensity. Kakashi would teach them more natural elemental jutsus, hand-to-hand combat, like deep hand-to-hand combat fights, to the almost the brink of unconsciousness. And then Sakura would practice medical ninjutsu by like healing them back. Obviously it's not to a great extent, but it's still worth it. It's still like pretty good. And then they would have some dinner or lunch, and that would kind of get them through. They would pretty much spend the next 7 days doing grueling training, and that's pretty much how it would go for the next 7 days. So pretty much after their intensive training, Team 7 would head towards the bridge. Now over the course of the week, they would go in early mornings and build the bridge slightly, but now they're like really going to the bridge in the dead day of light, pretty much, like in the light, because they're all ready, right? So once they rock up, they would see, Haku, the Masked Man, and Zabuza. Now in this timeline, of course, Naruto having met Haku, obviously we can flash back. So pretty much Naruto would be out in the forest, right? And after this, intense training, he would kind of be a bit exhausted, and he would kind of find himself like sleeping, right? Because intense he's training, he's a bit tired. Sakura's healings work, they're not that helpful, because she's not like in her 100 healings form. She's just like a beginner at this point, sort of intermediate. So he would fall asleep, and the same set of interaction would happen where Haku would tell him about like protecting your loved ones, and obviously Naruto would realize like this guy's a dude, not a chick, not because he looks better than Sakura, even though he's a dude. So that kind of introduction would happen, and seeing kind of Haku there, he would sense Haku, and he would kind of realize that this is the guy he has to kill if he has to fight, and if kill. So pretty much he's kind of preparing himself as Kakashi goes toe to toe with Zabuza and Haku and Naruto. Naruto and Sasuke would fight. Sakura would make a bunch of earth jutsu, right? Like earth wall, kind of reinforcing the area so Haku or Zabuza can get any sneak attacks on Tazuna, and she would kind of protect Tazuna, as Naruto and Sasuke would start teaming up and jump Haku. So pretty much they're fighting Haku. Haku's not using his demonic ice mirror jutsu yet, so they're just punching him around. He's a bit fast. Sometimes he will react to it. Most of the time they're in hand-to-hand combat, and he's pretty good. They're pretty good. Anytime Haku uses any simple ice jutsu, they just Naruto just uses. I mean, Sasuke uses fire jutsu. Naruto kind of just if it's like deadly, like a senbone, the toad will literally catch the senbone, like kind of like how it catches like that like some other projectiles in Jujutsu Kaisen is like shown in many fights. So Haku would realize they're kind of at equal level at this point. And by the way, Sasuke is at about 2 Tomoe Sharingan, so he's kind of reacting well, and he'll probably be able to withstand some of the earlier stages of Haku's demonic ice mirror jutsu. And Naruto would begin kind of using some of the Shikigami, doing some damage on him, as he would actually use his more mastered a new bird, as it would kind of electrocute Haku, and Haku would feel a sense of anger as he would use the demonic ice mirror jutsu. Now Naruto and Sasuke would be back to back, as they would, his toads would protect him from the senbone as much as they can, and he would try to use his kunai to knock them out, or just use his Shikigami to protect him, things like that. But what he would do is, just avoiding it mostly. He knows he's pretty fast himself. He knows how to evade, and with Sasuke, this 2 Tomoe Sharingan, he's doing pretty well. They're holding off, right? Even trying to combine in some fire style jutsu, with Naruto using sort of fire dragon Shikigami, which he had recently tamed and formed a pact with, and they would use that to enhance Sasuke's fire, and it would momentarily destroy all the ice, but then the ice would reheal itself, as Sasuke and Naruto would have to keep evading. Now what would happen is Haku would go fully all out, like Haku would be in all of mirrors, and they would throw all senbone, and as Naruto and Sasuke kind of try to react to this, it would kind of be futile, as Naruto is in Sasuke's blind spot, and so is Sasuke in Naruto's blind spot. So what would happen is, obviously, Sasuke would jump in front of Naruto. Pretty much what would happen is Naruto would be up defending, toads would be reacting, catching as much senbone. He would try to be deflecting, but a senbone would like hit his knee, right? As he would kind of lose his momentum, he would fall down to his knee, and then that's when Sasuke would pretty much jump in front of him and like pretty much cut all those senbone needles, as he saw like a bunch of them were heading straight for Naruto, and that could be deadly. So he does this, right? And Naruto would kind of realize and awaken to see like Sasuke pretty much like right in front of him, right? And he's like, he got like 20 senbones up his ass pretty much, and he's just like littered with senbone pretty much, as his eyes would kind of go blank as this anger would start to rise up in him, right? As markings would show up, like some red markings, like Sukuna's markings, but just kind of red and a bit more tailored to the Nine Tails, as his eye color would change to that of red, like the Kyuubi's eyes, as he would just feel the anger, right? And Kurama would take over here, and what would happen is he would kind of start stretching, right? And he would try to get ready for the fight, and he knows all the Shikigami. Anytime he uses it, it's enhanced by like 10 times, maybe 20 times, right? So he would spawn Neo, the bird, right? And he would also summon like the elephant, and it's like so big, right? And that's sus, okay? So don't be. I know it sounds sus, but it's huge, right? So pretty much what happened is the lightning and the elephant, they would shoot this huge waterfall, right? Like it's the amount of like 3 dragon style jutsus, 3 water dragon jutsus, and the lightning. It would be like the bird would be so big, just like in the manga, right? It would be humongous, and it would start like raining down lightning. The ice mirror jutsu is already destroyed. Everything is gone. It's just the elephant and New just raining down attacks on him, right? Mostly the electricity, and just zapping, right? He's getting hit over and over, but he's still kind of up, right? He's barely alive. Naruto kind of appears in front of him, right? Kind of sort of using like these 24 FPS technique, I believe it's called, and he would kind of appear in front of him, and he would infuse his hand with like black flash as he would go for the head. He's going for the killing move, and he would go ahead and take out his head. As Kakashi and Zabuza would be watching this, and they would see the markings, and they would know it's a Nine Tails. But as he does this, Naruto's body was kind of start fizzing out as the markings would kind of disappear, and he would collapse onto the floor. Now, Haku's head would be separated from his body, and pretty much Naruto would kind of wake up to see like what he's kind of done, and pretty much he would look around and he would actually sort of sense Sasuke's chakra again. So he's actually kind of relieved, but he realized he just killed somebody, and this is pretty much the first time he's done that. So I mean, when it comes to that aspect, it's kind of shocking. But what would happen here is Kakashi would then clamp Zabuza down and proceed to, Chidori him, right? No problem here, he's done, right? Obviously before, he said something about tools and things like that. And then, that's when that would happen, So as he's kind of bleeding out, he would, I guess, have his humanizing moment in a way, as he would kind of like, even though he has a donut in his chest, he would kind of crawl over to Haku and then like die right next to him. About 30 seconds later, right, Gato's mercenaries would show up, and let's just say it's Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke. Sasuke is pretty much out. I mean, like, Kakashi should be able to deal with them just by himself. So after all that's wrapped up, the Slender Waves would be complete, and they would head back to Leaf Village after recuperating, after getting healed, things like that. So now we'll be going into the Chunin exams. Sorry about that. So pretty much what would happen from here is they would spend the next, I'd say, 2 weeks training, right? And this is like, Kakashi would tell them early on, he's actually kind of trustworthy that they would actually be able to compete and be able to get some promotion, go on better missions, get better pay. Because when you're doing, say, like this mission, the A-Ring mission, if they didn't like sell like Zabuza or Haku's body to them as a bounty, they actually got a pretty decent money, by the way, from that. And like maybe, I'd say in dollars, let's say they got about, well, they're gonna split 4 ways, so they got a decent meal. So yeah, and then obviously Kakashi would take most of it. He is his sensei, so he'd probably take like 40%, and the rest would get like 20%. So that's pretty good. 200k though, that on your first mission, plus the mission you get for just like doing the mission. And it wouldn't be a C-rank mission, it would just be an A-rank mission, and Hiruzen would literally pay out of pocket so it's kind of fair in a way. I mean, he wouldn't really pay straight out of pocket, but just like give him more money for the A-rank mission. So they probably got like 250k, and hey, this is decent money, I have to say. No, I'm just kidding. But they would probably like spend like the first 10k or something. No, I'm just kidding. They'd probably just save it or something. I don't know what they would do. They'd probably buy some clothes, but that's about it. Buy some jewelry. That's all I can really think about. After, I'd say during the 2 weeks, I'd train, and Naruto would learn actually the simple domain and learn more hand-to-hand combat, so he can actually, whenever he uses the simple domain and the other opponent cannot use their abilities, he can actually have an advantage in the hand-to-hand combat aspect of it. And he would also start learning his actual domain expansion. Now at this point, it would only really be imperfect, and he can only really use it like once a day, and that's it. He's drained. So this will actually be used for a similar fight coming up, and yeah, this will actually be interesting to cover. So we'll actually be going over the Chunin exams now. About 2 weeks is done, over pretty much, and they'll actually now be starting the Chunin exams. Now it would be the day of, and Naruto would get up, get his drip on, and he would meet up Team 7 as they would head over to the Chunin exams. Now once they would make it there, obviously they would see the genjutsu, and they would tell the proctors to drop it, as the proctors realized like a decent amount of people like Neji, Lee, and some other genins actually realized about the genjutsu, sort of think in their head that the new generation is actually quite plentiful and strong. So what would happen from here is they would drop the genjutsu as they would go on to walk inside. The team would actually be stopped by Lee as they would be challenged to a fight. But the thing is, Naruto and Sasuke don't want to actually fight now. They want to wait until the actual good parts of the exam so they can go full out, like they can go all out. And they would tell Lee about this. They would tell him like, maybe if we get a fight in the preliminary or the final, then we can go all out, no problem. Because Naruto sees he's holding back. He sees some weights on him, and Lee knows he's holding back. So they kind of both unanimously agree to kind of like wait until they actually fight each other in the finals or in the semifinals, something like that. So they would go about their business and they would give their name, right, to the team 10 or to like the team guy, right, as they would realize this was the team that just beat Zabuza and Haku single-handedly. Like Naruto just beat Haku single-handedly, right? He killed him, and obviously now they got a bunch of money. And all the other teams are pretty jealous because they never got that amount of money. They probably got maybe the best team, like Team Guy. They probably got a decent amount because they graduated a year early. But all the other teams were doing like C rank, right, at this point. Well, they got an A rank, so that was pretty interesting. So they would head over there to the written exam. And Naruto's he's got a good head on his shoulders, so he's pretty good IQ wise. Well, Sakura, obviously, apparently she just like knew all the answers or something. Kubo had to give her something, so it's all good. So what would happen here from now is, they would get through the test pretty well. Sasuke would use Naruto would use his intellect and also some of his shikigami to kind of cheat on the test. Like he'd probably use like the tiniest toad he can summon or something like that, or like a kind of a small rabbit, like someone from the shadows. Right, he can summon anything from the shadows pretty much, so he can summon something like something as small as, I don't know, a toad or a rabbit, maybe even small like a fly, and then you can just like see all the answers, And then Sakura, she just knows it apparently. So after the written exam is done, some of the other people would leave because Ibiki would tell them about how if they did not get the 10th question right, they would actually be barred from doing Chunin exams forever. Now, obviously some people would lose their will, to keep going, and they would leave. But Team 7 would kind of hold out, and most of the other teams that were there in canon would as well. So, Anko would come in about 5 minutes later. She would kind of kick down the window, and she would look at the contestants, kind of bantering that that Ibiki had gotten a bit too old. So she would have her usual dialogue, and we would go over to them being in the forest of death. Anko would have him sign the forms and all that, and Naruto wouldn't make that same comment. He's more reserved, he's more stoic, he doesn't talk that much. So Anko really had no reason to actually be throwing that kunai at him. So everything's really just normal at this point. So they would actually head into the forest of death, and Naruto wouldn't have to use the bathroom or anything like that, so he wouldn't get jumped by that the grass ninja. So they were pretty good overall. They'd be walking through, and then about 15-20 minutes in, right, they're about a quarter way in, right, they would feel this presence, they would start to feel it, right, and it was a strong presence, right, pretty heavy, as it would be Orochimaru. Now Orochimaru had actually used his killer his kind of presence to scare them. Naruto would be standing, right, and he's pretty well built. Sasuke would kind of be standing, but he was kind of scared, right, but Sakura, her legs are buckling, right, she's kind of barely handling this. So Naruto would kind of snap Sasuke out of it, and Sakura, they would tell Sakura to get out the way, and they would have to, they would start fighting pretty much 2-on-1 Orochimaru, but they don't know this at the moment. So Sasuke would use his 2-to-1 Sharingan, which is pretty close to the 3-to-1, but still a decent bit away. And Naruto would then summon a bit of Shikigami, like a bird, his bird, which would be much bigger after Kurama had gotten released, but not as big as when Kurama released it. So all of his other Shikigami got pretty much like a 50% increase in their abilities and their capacity and their quality, really. So would summon his bird as it would start to natively, is that even a word? It would start persistently chasing Orochimaru to bite him, right, and electrocute him. As Orochimaru's having to worry about that, Sasuke's up against him and he's throwing hands at Orochimaru, while Naruto's also doing the same, using some of his supportive Shikigami like the elephant and the rabbits to kind of try to trap Orochimaru. As it would do a bit, but so far Orochimaru still has the upper hand. Now Sasuke would use his fire style jutsu and then also start to tie some like ninja wire, tying him to the tree, as then he would do it onto the ninja wire and it would completely burn Orochimaru. Naruto would then use some of his the bird would then start to bite onto Orochimaru, as Sasuke would actually put his hand out and kind of form a sword of lightning, right? It was kind of a Chidori, right? As he sort of learned it over the 2 weeks. As he would then kind of extend it, right? He's like 10 feet away, I'd say. So he would extend it and he would pierce through Orochimaru's head. As Orochimaru, he would retract it and blade was shown to go through the tree. So it was pretty impressive. As Orochimaru was shown to go limp before his body would start kind of spazzing out, as he would spit out his another body, like regurgitating himself. So pretty much from here, it would be Orochimaru, Kusanagi blade, everything. And Sasuke would feel that kind of this fear coming again, but he would try to fight it. And so would Naruto, as Naruto would then try to use some of his more Shikigami, but it would just completely fail, right? As Orochimaru would start whooping, bro. And we see Kurama, right? He starts talking to Naruto, and this is rare because he rarely does that. Probably his first or second time. And at first he probably did that as a kid. But he starts talking to Naruto, telling him to switch so he can actually deal with him. And of course, Naruto's a bit reserved. Not reserved, but he's a bit defensive at first not to do so. But he realizes this was Orochimaru, the Sani, the Snake Sani. And he would switch over, right? As Kurama switches over, right? Because Naruto's about to die. And Kurama knows this. If that blade touches him, he's done, right? And Sasuke kind of realizes, right, as Kurama kind of comes in, and Sasuke knows to kind of keep his distance. Naruto kind of starts stretching, or Kurama starts stretching his body, as this time he has more power, right? Or power, as Anime X used to say. So pretty much he would pretty much start dog watering. No, just kidding. He would just start pretty much punching on. He would pretty much start beating on Orochimaru. He would start throwing hands, using Black Flash, just smashing his face, discombobulating him. And Orochimaru can barely just survive at his, or even think at his. The way Kurama's beating him, oh my lord. As he would start using, he would put his hands together and summon an actual new Shikigami. As a pair of snakes would start forming, and it would kind of go like towering over the trees. And it would be like an 8-headed snake, kind of like Medusa in a bit. It's sort of like those snakes that Orochimaru was like when Orochimaru was revived during the Sasuke versus the Itachi fight. Those snakes that came up, they're a bit like that, but they're more like dark blue and they're 8-headed, right? So they would come towards Orochimaru and they would just, man, the damage it would do. He would barely survive. As he would kind of be like on the floor limping, trying to limp away, he would turn into snakes, right? As Naruto would then put his hands together and use his simple domain, completely eradicating his technique, his chakra abilities, but also he can't use any of his curse technique. So he would just start beating him a little more until he kind of realizes that Orochimaru is kind of not really fighting anymore, and he kind of gets a bit bored. So he switches back, and Orochimaru escapes. Only like one piece of the snake escaped, but he manages that one tiny snake. Right, that's how he would escape. he's traumatized now. So pretty much after this would happen, the Chunin exams would, that part, they'd get the scroll, and then they would head over to the tower. Now Naruto is pretty much exhausted, but even with the Nine Tails taking over, he was still pretty exhausted. Now as they made it to the tower, they would kind of rest up, and they would tell Hiruzen about Kakashi. They would tell Kakashi about Orochimaru, and then Orochimaru would be told, Kakashi would then tell Hiruzen about Orochimaru, and then the whole village would be in high lockdown, right? But they still wanted to keep the the Chunin exams going, because if they didn't, they would kind of show up fear, I would say, if they canceled it, it would kind of show that they're afraid of Orochimaru, and by not doing that, they kind of show that it's not a problem really to the other villages coming, like the Sand Village, the Grass Village, the Sound Village, things like that. Now we would start the preliminaries. Now we'll have the usual fights: Naruto versus Kiba, Sasuke versus Yoroi, and things like that. And most of that would go straight mostly to canon, obviously, except Sasuke and Naruto. They would win their fights with much less difficulty, obviously, because Yoroi and Kiba aren't really that strong. So that would pretty much go. We'll just skip all the way to the 1 month time skip. Everything else would go about to a T. So in this 1 month time skip, Naruto would see Jiraiya kind of peeping in the bathhouse, as he would kind of go up to him and ask him who he is, what he's doing there, pretty much. And Jiraiya would turn around and see, it was Naruto, and he recognized him, right? Kakashi and Hiruzen told him, asked him to train him for the 1 month time skip. So what would happen here is, they would have their conversation, they'd eat ramen, and Jiraiya would actually ask if he would like to train Naruto. Naruto wouldn't be too against it, he'd be okay with it, as they would kind of start their training arc, right? As Naruto for the next month would be training under Jiraiya. Jiraiya's trying to figure out what his techniques are, things like that, and Naruto would try to explain it as best he can, like a Shikigami, his simple domain, and the domain expansion he actually wants to work on. And Jiraiya would try to adapt to this, learn about it, study it pretty much, study his chakra and things like that, and how Kurama affects it, as Kakashi told him about the time in the Land of Waves when Kurama took over, and Shikigami, the animals he summoned, would come out, and it would actually, their size were magnified and their abilities were magnified. So at this point, Jiraiya's thinking, okay, if we train Naruto and master Kurama, then he'll be able to actually enhance the abilities of his summonings, because that's what Jiraiya thinks. He thinks that maybe Naruto's getting the ability to universally be able to have any kind of summoning, so this kind of works well with him. So pretty much that's his theory, and by helping him control the Nine Tails, maybe he can control the summonings, right? And that's kind of what he got there. And the simple domain, he's not too sure, but he helps to the best of his abilities. He's a quite smart man. You can try to figure it out. Now this over the month, Naruto would learn the simple domain. He would get his imperfect domain expansion. He would pretty much expand all of his Shikigamis, and he would actually start to research and get a hand of the last Shikigami he has, which we won't actually be able to be using until after the 3-year time skip, until the Akatsuki, just to let everyone know. So what would happen here is, after the 1 month time skip, Naruto would come back and drip, much more drip, bro. He'd probably be in some Gojo drip, from Jujutsu Kaisen, the latest chapters, or maybe even Toji drip, that level, right? Probably come up in a poncho, he would have his normal outfit with some poncho, how kind of similar to how Sasuke rocks up in a way, something like that, or how Ichigo pulls up to the Indie Soul Society arc with his kind of cloak, which was also pretty cool as well. Now what would happen is he would pull up and he would be looking badass, I'm telling you. Hand-to-hand combat good, man. It's Jiraiya when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. He knows a lot. He would try to teach Naruto some of the Frog Kuma type abilities, not like actual Sage mode, just like some of the foundations of the Frog Kuma type Taijutsu, pretty much. And Naruto starts to implicate this in his fights. Now, the fight would obviously be Naruto versus Neji. Which actually, this is actually a pretty good fight because Neji could pretty much cancel all his chakra points, and then Naruto could use a simple domain, which could pretty much, I guess in a sense, also do the same to Neji's abilities, kind of restrict them. And when it comes to a hand-to-hand combat without the Byakugan, Neji is kind of useless because he can't use the palms technique anymore because he's in a simple domain, so he kind of just using normal hand-to-hand combat with little effect, because the point of the gentle fist was to restrict your opponent's chakra points, but in this case you don't have your chakra, so the fight would kind of go similar to that, and Naruto would just whoop him overall. He'd probably punch him around, spear tackle him, send haymaker at him, and he using a little more force because, as you know, Neji, doing what he did to Hinata, it would kind of give that level of treatment to him, and he'd be bloodied up and everything, as you kind of felt a tinge of hatred towards him. Not too much, not like I want to kill you type hatred, not really something too serious, but just it is what it is type thing. Not it is what it is, but something like that. So as Naruto's pretty much beating up on Neji, and Neji would obviously lose, right? He can't use his chakra. He's in a simple domain, and Naruto got hands over him in this situation. So he's done in that case. Now all the other fights would go relatively the same until Sasuke versus Gaara. Now Sasuke already learned the Chidori, so now he's just learning to manipulate it much more better. He's got his 3-2 Sharingan. I don't see what Gaara has against him yet. He would have to go full transformation. So Gaara would be, the fight would start, right? Sasuke would make it up in his drip, right? He'd be looking a bit taller, a bit more, bit more ripped. It's kind of hard to get that physically ripped in a month, even if we're talking in Naruto. I mean, in real life, it'd be much harder. So he'd come out kind of all ready to go, and their fight would start, right? As Naruto would watch Sasuke, as he actually has a new katana, a bit similar to his one from his Taka version, like that one katana, like a cane sword. Not a cane sword, I forgot what it's called. So maybe I forgot the specific sword. Correct me. I might search it up after this recorded this video specifically. So pretty much from here, Sasuke would have his sword out as he would be slicing at the sand, or he'd be dodging it, and he would be trying to slice at the sand and infusing some lightning in it, right? But he realized that his lightning would kind of turn his sand into glass, right? So he'd actually want to try out this new technique to a lesser effect, but still try it out. Sasuke would then use a fire style in the air as the clouds would start forming, right? As he would put his hand in the air, as a small kind of lightning bolt would kind of come from the sky and strike Gaara in his sand bowl kind of thing, as he's trying to go into the One Tails form, right? He's trying to go into his One Tails form, and it takes a bit of time using the specific technique for the Jinchuriki, as the lightning bolt would come through, right? That sounds sus. It would come from the sky and kind of bust through the it would go through the sand kind of circle he has, the perfect defense or whatever it's called. I actually don't know the specific one, but Gaara would have, it's pretty much called a perfect defense in a way. As you know what lightning does to sand, it turns to glass, so the whole thing would just shatter, right? As Sasuke would come in, right, and slice at him, right? As he would puncture his shoulder, just the whole blade would go through the shoulder. As Gaara would realize the blood is there, and it's a lot from the lightning bolt. hitting him and the blade. Obviously the sand kind of blocked the lightning, so he only got damaged by a little bit of it, but it was still a lot. So pretty much what would happen from here is he would just turn into Shikaku, right? He would just let go and kind of be done with it, right? As what would happen is he would turn full into Shikaku as all the Jonin start jumping in. And reminder here, Orochimaru is weak, so he's not really gonna fight Hiruzen. Hiruzen would whoop him. So he's not showing up here. He wants to just take the L and let the Sand Ninjas kind of do their thing and have Kabuto do the Genjutsu, but that's it. When it comes to Orochimaru, the Sound 4 is not gonna come in. None of that. He's kind of he's throwing the sand under the bus here because he does not want to fight Hiruzen, and he will never fight Naruto again, right? He's too scared of him at this point. So what would happen from here is, Shikaku would fight against Naruto and Sasuke, and Naruto would use their simple domain, or not even simple. I could probably see Naruto using some of his bigger Shikigami to hold a chance, but it would kind of not do much, as what would happen here is Kurama would start talking to him, right? And remember here, Kurama is still evil, but the only reason he's doing this is because he wants Naruto's body, right? Remember this. But Naruto doesn't know this, but he doesn't think Kurama's all that goodwill either, so he's still kind of on his guard. But Kurama would tell Naruto that he can summon him via his Shikigami and then not be able to go on an outrage, on a rampage like he did when Naruto was born. So Naruto would probably take as much chakra, if not more chakra, than when he does the domain expansion. So he would start focusing, right, as his blood vessels would start to pop in his head, as he would start focusing all the chakra he has, as he would put his hand into like the seal for like the summoning a Shikigami, as he would summon Kurama, right? But really, as a Shikigami, it's kind of hard to explain. As Naruto would come out, or would summon Kurama, as Shikaku would be like shitting his pants right now, because he's the one tails. He's not like the 8 tails or 7 tails. He's the one tail, and the 9 tails just came up. So what he would do is he tried to use his tailed beast bomb. Kurama, or really, it's not really Kurama. It's more like a fox version of Kurama. Think of that, but still has some of his techniques and things like that. So right now, let's say this fox is probably like 25% of the actual Kurama, which is about like 5 or 6 tails, like about 5-6 tails worth of power. As the Shikigami would kind of use the tailed beast bomb, or really I'll just say Kurama for simplicity's sake. He would use his tailed beast bomb, and there'd be a huge kind of clash and explosion, as it would, the residual damage would kind of be crazy though. It'd be like it'd be at the size of like the residual damage would be this huge circle. I would say the whole damage overall is about, or they're technically in the arena, so they would evacuate everyone. So let's say the whole damage is just the arena. Of course, Naruto wants to hold back, right? And also during the fight, they kind of did gravitate away from the arena, but sort of like, I'd say like a mile away from the arena, more into the forest. So the radius would be like about a mile, right? And that's like the more spread out it got, the less the damage did. Kind of like a nuke. So after the damage comes up, and Gaara's on the floor, he's done for, man. He's out, right? Naruto would then pretty much walk up to him and kind of have his usual talk, kind of doing his talk no jutsu, kind of at the same, not really doing it. He's kind of just talking to him about how he feels the same as the Jinchuriki, and he kind of understood what he was going through and the people, and how he actually got through it was with his loved one, his friends, and Kakashi and Hiruzen and things like that. And he literally, he talks to him about like how he has siblings and how he has loved ones around him who can actually help him, who actually want to help him. So he should try to actually open up, right? As Gaara's listening to this, he kind of has his own realization, right? as he kind of realizes his wrongs and kind of accepts that Naruto as right and sort of tries to be good. He doesn't say that all outright, but in his mind he is, in a way. So after all this happened, there'd be like 2 weeks, right, as Hiruzen still alive in this case, as everything is getting sorted out, how the Sand Village were manipulated by Orochimaru, and how the Kazekage is actually dead. So what would happen from here is there'd be about a 2-week time skip, right, as Jiraiya would then be knocking on his door, right. Naruto would open it, and Jiraiya would ask him if he can come in, and obviously he can. And Jiraiya would start talking to him about the prospect of heading out on a mission. This mission would be to retrieve Tsunade, as Hiruzen's getting a bit old for his age and he wants to retire. So they would agree, and they would head over to the kind of on the mission to search for the Tsunade. But right before they would go, Naruto would be called in by Hiruzen, as he kind of congratulates Naruto on his past month, I guess not month, but like a few months of being a ninja. Like they landed a wave, like stopping the One Tails, fighting against Orochimaru, things like that. As he would reach into the cabinet and get a Jonin vest and sort of like a badge, as he would say that Naruto's now officially a Jonin, and Sasuke and Shikamaru are promoted to Chunin, and Sasuke is like sort of on a career path in a sense to being a Jonin, and Shikamaru is his Chunin, but he's pretty well recognized as a smart young man, I guess you can say. So Naruto would be pretty happy at his achievement. He would get that pay raise, so he's got that money coming in, and in a sense, being ninja is quite lucrative if you like go for bounties and things like that. And that's what Naruto did with Zabuza and Haku and Yashiga. He's, like I said, he has a decent bit of money and dinero. No, I'm just kidding. I already said money and then money. Yeah, but pretty much he's got a lot of dinero. So what would happen from here is they would go on their mission to pretty much ask Tsunade to be Hokage. And as they're doing so, would Itachi and pretty much Kisame come for Naruto? Yes, they would. They would hear all the news about Naruto being the One Tails, killing Haku and Zabuza. Some rumors, right? Rumors about like Zabuza, but it's pretty much confirmed he killed Haku. So they would see him as kind of a threat, and they want to capture him while they still can. So that same fight scene between Kakashi and Itachi and all that would happen about the same, where Kakashi is put under Tsukiyomi and is hospitalized. And then obviously in this case Sasuke would the whole hotel scene, which I'm about to go over, is about to happen. So Naruto and Jiraiya would be here, right, in the hotel, as Jiraiya is doing some research. Wink, wink. As Naruto would hear a knock on his door. Naruto would then summon like the tiniest Shikigami to like on the outside of the door to see who's there, and it's Itachi, Uchiha, and like Kisame. And he kind of knows them because he has a bingo book. He has a book, and he kind of looks more towards the higher ranked ninjas in the bingo book, not like the A rank, B rank. He looks at S rank, and he knows like these are the more popular S rank Akatsuki members. So he's kind of wary because he knows he's strong, but he's not too strong at the moment. So what he'd do is he would jump out the window, right? As they would hear this kind of crash, right? As Naruto would land, and they would realize that Naruto kind of sensed them. As he would kick down the door, and Kisame would realize that the window's open, and Itachi would see that Naruto has left, right? Naruto would start heading towards Jiraiya's chakra signal, as he would kind of go across the street, and Itachi and Kisame would body flicker in front of him, as Naruto would then realize he has to fight them, right? As he would start using his Shikigami, and and do a bit of damage, but not too much, right? As he's kind of fighting with his life right here, because he realizes these people, they know he has the Nine Tails, and they somehow want it, right? So Naruto would talk to Itachi, right? He would kind of taunt him in a way, saying like, so like not taunt him, but like kind of confronting him, asking him what's the Uchiha like clan killer doing here? As you know, Itachi would say that we want the Nine Tails from you, pretty much, right? As Naruto would say, like, you're a part of the Akatsuki, aren't you? And you want to have all the Nine Tails, but why do you need all the Nine Tails for, right? All the tailed beasts for? As obviously Itachi would not answer, right? Because why would he? As Jiraiya would then appear, and what happened from here is Jiraiya would kind of use his toad mouth jutsu, and Naruto from here, having an idea, would actually put his hands together and he would use his domain expansion, Chimera Shadow Garden, as kind of black substance would cover the area, and a barrier about like 250 feet, maybe 250 meters would form. It's a pretty decent barrier, and they're all inside of it now. Obviously, Jiraiya's sort of in his protection zone where he can't be hit, as a bunch of Shikigami would start forming, and they would start launching towards him. Much bigger, much powerful. The only problem is that at this point in time, he does not have a short hit effect, and he has yet to actually study and master Maharaga. So he will not be using this, right? So what happened from here is they would be overwhelmed, as Itachi would actually have, I guess what he would do is he would use a Matarasu and it's sort of his Susanoo to break out, and obviously because of Naruto's weaker domain would manage to work, as you know, it's not like Itachi just used skeleton, he had to go into full body, which would affect his illness, but not to a huge extent where like he's about to die. So as they escape, Sasuke would get there, and he would see his brother Itachi having a Susanoo kind of like, I guess you'd say like flying away. I wouldn't say flying away, but just escaping, right? So he kind of sees him in the like way, all the way back there. So he realizes like what Naruto and Jiraiya just did, and he's realized it's kind of too late, but it is. Really, realistically, had he actually got there earlier, Itachi would have probably traumatized him. So they would continue on their journey, and Sasuke would head back to the Leaf Village, when they would make, after about a few days of travel, and Naruto actually would start training more on his domain expansion and his endurance and his durability hand-to-hand combat. Should I have Naruto? I don't think that. I was thinking of having Naruto learn the wrestling gun, but it wouldn't really work in this, not really particularly. So what would happen from here is they would find this little town, and they're exhausted. They want to eat something, right? So they would head over to the nearest town, and they would actually walk into a bar. And this is where they will find Tsunade, and what they'll do is they kind of sit down there, kind of greetings, as they would start playing some poker, right? So get some poker, get another round of drinks, food, things like that. It would be all chill, right? Naruto's got pretty decent clothes. He's looking fit, looking like a gentleman. So is Jiraiya, you know, he's got the drip on. No, I'm just kidding. So pretty much they would start talking while they're playing games, right? As they would obviously start getting chips and start gambling, right? Naruto has a decent amount of money, as we talked about earlier. He's got a decent amount from those bounties, so he's pretty much well off. So they would start talking, as Jiraiya, after all the small talk and things like that, he would get to the point, as he would ask Tsunade to be Hokage. As Tsunade realizes this and realizes Jiraiya's not here for small talk, and wanted to know why. So, you know, Jiraiya then tells Tsunade he wants her to be Hokage, and that the old man is retiring now. As she would start mouthing off about the Hokage. Thing is, Naruto knows about Tsunade here. You know, Jiraiya told him about it, how, you know, she's pretty much a drunk, and actually how her brother and fiance actually died in World War, and kind of she gained some PTSD. So Jiraiya would tell Naruto to kind of just not say anything, be respectful, and things like that. So he would be quiet as Jiraiya would start talking, saying that she needs to kind of redeem herself, and that becoming this Hokage, becoming this medical doctor again in the Hidden Leaf, she can start healing people, start fixing people's problems, so then she can maybe, like, her brother's death and fiance's death will not be in vain, because then they all like kind of live within her, and they all wanted to be Hokage, and by being Hokage, she's kind of fulfilling their goal in a sense. No, Jiraiya's kind of, he's smooth talking it, he's good at convincing people. He is the legendary Sonic for no reason, right? He isn't the legendary Sonic for no reason. So he's getting her, convincing her, using that Riz. Jiraiya got Riz for Tsunade, so I'm just saying, So this would happen, and pretty much he would convince her to come and be Hokage after a lot of deals, helping her pay off her debt and things like that, and everything would go smooth sailing, right? As Naruto and the rest would head back to the village, have their ceremony, and they would start talking business, which is the Akatsuki. Now they'd realize the Akatsuki is getting way too strong, and they need to deal with them. So what they would do is, with the distraction of Tsunade becoming Hokage, and the Akatsuki would look at them and say, look, they probably got all these new soldiers, and they're making an alliance with the Sand Village. They're actually probably going to interfere in the civil war with the Mist Village, getting another treaty. They're thinking, we need to kind of back away from this, right? We can't evade them right now. They will have a decent amount of soldiers. We need to wait, right? And this is true, right? So they'd wait a few years. Probably this 3-year time skip would happen. Naruto, Sasuke, Jiraiya, Kakashi, they would start training David Goggins mentality, right? They got that audiobook. I'm just kidding. So they would pretty much start training for the next 3 years. And over these 3 years, Naruto would start to achieve the power of the original Zenin ancestor, right? Like when I'm talking about domain expansion, Maharaga, the other one, like there's this theory about the 8-headed snake, hence why I brought up the dragon, the fire dragon, and things like that. He would master Shikigami to the fullest, right? Their attacks and things like that. He would be OP pretty much, right? And then when it comes to his simple domain expansion, they're mastered fully, right? You can use it multiple times a day. So when I say this is because Gojo stated that Megumi would be as strong, if not better, stronger than him. Now he's realizing this potential. He's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And so Sasuke is doing the same. And with the later revelation of the Uchiha massacre from Hiruzen as some sort of guilt he's been carrying, and he wanted to kind of give the truth, as now at this point Sasuke and Naruto are about like 16, 17 years old. Let's say 17 years old for good sake, and Sasuke about almost 18. He feels they're strong enough to now hand the truth that one, Minato is this the father of Naruto, and he is sort of starts like realizing about his parents and his all the like Kushino Uzumaki from the Uzumaki clan, where it used to be a very strong clan who had a lot of seals, and he would actually be given all these seals, and he would be given his parents' estate, things like that, and it's just sort of small items, right? As Sasuke would gain the MS, as once they would come back to the village after the 3 years, they would catch up with Hinata, or see Naruto risen up Hinata. And I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, pretty much that's what happened. Sasuke doing the Riz with Sakura, she's Sakura, but can't judge. Game is game, game. No, I'm just kidding. Pretty much after they'd get back to the village, then they would team up on pretty much taking turns on Danzo, no homo, not no homo. Why am I saying no? Pause. I mean, they would pretty much invade Danzo's kind of compound, and they would take down all the Yambu, as Hiruzen, Naruto, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kakashi, that all come in, right? That's on sus, pause, but they'd come in, right? Naruto's fully mastered domain, they would just start whooping up Danzo, right? As he would try to use Izanagi. What Naruto would do is he would use this simple domain, as this would immediately kind of nullify the chakra techniques of Danzo in a sort of a small area, so everyone around like Sasuke, Kakashi can still use their chakra, but the thing is Danzo cannot. So at this point he's mortal. So what Sasuke would do, he would use his Amaterasu, as Naruto would then he can't really do much. He's pretty much just his only hands, and at this point it's not worth it. As Kakashi would then use his Raikiri kind of from afar, to like manipulate the light, like to pierce him, pretty much sort of like his hound. Like he would summon his lightning hound, and it would pretty much travel to Danzo. Travel sounds a weird word, but it would pretty much electrocute Danzo, as Hiruzen would use his adamantine staff, and Jiraiya would use his toad oil and fire, as it would just, man, Danzo's body was unrecognizable. It was just gone, right? And the thing is, they offered Danzo to come in, right? He would be executed probably by seppuku, have him do seppuku. And yes, I did get that from Rogue, but he would probably have him commit like seppuku in front of the whole village, kind of in shame, right? But he's too prideful for that. And of course, he can't use his reverse tetragram seal, as he's still within the simple domain. So who knows, something so simple could take out Danzo Shimura. So after this is done, I'm going to be speeding through the Akatsuki invasion. Pretty much they would head over to the base, right? After they would pretty much defeat Kakazu and Hidan during the arc when they'd come into the Fire Nation. They would get info off them via the Ibiki and like Ino's dad, Inochi, I think it's Inochi, I forgot his name, but the intelligence corps pretty much would interrogate, kind of dig through their brain after they're dead. Now for the fight scene, I could see Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi pulling up on the Kakazu, while Shikamaru would deal with Hidan. But don't worry, my boy Asuma's not dead, so you will not be getting the milk on us. I'm just kidding. But pretty much Shikamaru and the others would deal with Hidan, and obviously with Shikamaru's intelligence, they would realize that they would have to use all these like bomb tags to like mutilate his body into like so many different pieces, and then like bury him alive. So it's kind of brutal, but it is what it is, that's just how the ninja life is. So after they do all this, right, they would invade the base, right, having known the knowledge of pretty much everyone's abilities to what Kakazu and Hidan would know. So like for example, Hidan can't know anything about like Obito being Obito or anything like that. They only know as much as Hidan and Kakazu knew, so that it kind of makes sense. Kakashi would fight Obito in his dimension. All the others would deal with more of this weaker members like Sasori, Deidara, like Sasuke would deal with Deidara, and then Itachi. And then Naruto would deal with Pain. Now, obviously, Pain is all the 6 paths, right? Now, with Naruto, with his kind of awakened power, he would use some of his Shikigami to try to electrify them. But they would realize, like, the more he took them down, they would somehow come back with the Preda path, the one that pretty much revives all of them. So he starts targeting the Preda path, as he would use his domain expansion, which is more mastered, has a sure hit effect, right, and everything like that. As his domain would form, as he would start setting the conditions, and it'd be barrierless, and it'd be like anyone. It's kind of like Sukuna's domain, where you don't need to have cursed energy to be hit. So it's kind of like a slash technique, like Sukuna's slash technique, where it can just slash anything, no matter if they have curse technique. It can slash the earth, the rocks, whatever. It's kind of the same thing here, where it'll affect anything, as he would use some of his more overpowered shinigamis, and what he would do is he would deal with pain. Now, what he would do for Nagato, right, and some of the main path, is he would actually summon Maharaga. Now, once you obviously he'd take down his domain, and the reason for summoning Maharaga, by the way, or he wouldn't really summon it like right then. He would actually so what would happen is he would have his domain, right, and a little bit before he would summon him in the shadows, right, so he can adapt to all the Rinnegan techniques, and then he would use his domain and attack, pretty much taking out all the other paths of pain except the Diva path, right, the main one. Now that Maharaga's out, anytime Pain would try to use Almighty Push, Almighty Push or Universal Pull, it would just not work. Or even Planetary Devastation. Any of these techniques would just not work, as Maharaga would have adapted to it, as Maharaga would pretty much cut down, the main path of the Diva path, as it would become sort of, this connection would be cut, as Naruto and Jiraiya would mainly Jiraiya would confront the Nagato and Konan. He would try his best to convince them, but unfortunately they had gone too far into their plans in order to, I guess, give up on their plans. So he would unfortunately have to take care of them, obviously saving their Rinnegan to be used by the village later, so they can have some sort of, at least something, they did something good for the world, Now what happened with here is Kakashi and Obito would be fighting. They would have their main fight, and what I really like about their fight is how it shows they use the exact same fighting techniques from when they're a kid, showing that because of the trauma they actually never really evolved their techniques, right? They would have their same fight, and then they would have Kakashi would be all I can give you now is death, right? And then Obito would be then I shall do the same. And then obviously Kakashi would use his Chidori on him, his Raikiri, put a hole in his heart, and then obviously that's him for my bro Obito, as at least he in the end Obito's the seal on his heart would be released, as he would start apologizing for what he did over the years, as he tells Kakashi realizes about the seal on his heart. Obito would tell him how Madara pretty much manipulated him after Rin had died, and sort of in a sense Obito would have a proper conclusion to his story, and he would in the end he would realize his wrongs, right? And he would realize that Kakashi tried his best to actually protect Rin, and he knew obviously from the beginning that Rin jumped in front of his Chidori, but really the whole situation was kind of just horrible from the start. But as some sort of way to recompense, he would give Kakashi his other eye, so my boy Kakashi can have that DMS, so that would be, that's gonna be quite interesting. Honestly, I must be summarizing. I'll summarize everything else. Tetsu and anyone else would be taken care of, and after this the Hidden Leaf would start peace talks with the other villages, the Stone and the Cloud Village, telling them about what they just did, how they saved the world. And the Mist Village and the Sand Village are completely fine with the Leaf Village, so they already did peace treaties, because now the Mizukage Mei is a bit more reasonable compared to obviously Obito, who had what was his name, the fourth Mizukage Yagura into a Genjutsu. So now there's more peace in the world, because now that all 5 nations are pretty much having peace. And when the Otsutsuki come, and they will, with Naruto being as strong as pretty much Gojo, if not stronger, and with Sasuke having the EMS, and by now with obviously the Sage 6 Paths giving Sasuke hit chakra, right, from his being injured Reincarnation, and pretty much all of it to Sasuke. Now the reason why for this is because kind of Naruto has his own thing. He has his own power. He's pretty strong, and by kind of giving all the chakra to Sasuke, kind of sets the balance So like Sasuke is as strong as Naruto, and then it'd kind of be weird to have Sasuke just be weak the whole show. There needs to be some sort of equilibrium. Like Sasuke is as strong as Naruto, show that rivalry which was shown throughout the whole show pretty much. Other than that, I actually really liked doing this What If. I really like doing this movie overall. I like coming back to YouTube, doing my thing, But pretty much, guys, this will be it for today. Just sub to the channel and join the Discord, which will be in the link below. Join Rogue server, go check out his channel. But without further ado, guys, I'm gonna head out now. Peace out and have a good day. Bye bye.